Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Guide Your Students to Ideate and Plan a School Business. My name is Katie and I'm in charge of marketing and communications here at Teach Mantelfish. You might have seen me before in other webinars. Whilst we wait for any more people to join us, please use this time to introduce yourselves in the chat by telling me your name, your country, and even the name of your school if you want to. So please introduce yourselves if you haven't done so already. So we have Lillian from Uganda, Prince from Liberia, hi, Stephen from Nigeria. We have Evan from Indonesia. Wow, so many different countries joining us today. Sakshi from India, welcome. Two more people from India, welcome. It's great to see that we have so many people from different countries all over the world joining us for this webinar. Okay, let's get started then. So we're going to start by looking at the agenda for today's session. As you know, we're going to be talking about how to come up with a great business idea and business plan. So the first section is going to be all about step one, which is business idea. And I will start by talking about why you should do it. I think it's really important to always remember why we do these things. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about how you as a teacher can do this with your students in your school. And then I'm going to share some examples from around the world of business ideas, so you can really picture what it is that you're going to be doing with your students. The second section is going to be all about step two, so business plan. I will also go through the whys and the hows here. Then I'll go through the activities that you'll need to complete with examples for each one. This will be followed by some top tips for success in both business idea and business plan documents, which will hopefully increase your chances of winning a prize this year. And then finally, you'll be able to ask any questions at the end in the Q&A section. So without further ado, let's get started. So coming up with a business idea, why should you do it? Well, there are many reasons for this. First of all, it's the first step in the School Enterprise Challenge, and you're all here in this webinar because you've registered to take part in the 2023 edition of the programme. The first step relates to lessons 1, 2, 3 and 4, and to give you an idea of what comes afterwards, we have step 2, which is all about creating a plan for the business, and then step 3, which is the funnest part and is actually all about launching and running the business. The School Enterprise Challenge is all about getting your students to run a business at their school. But before they can run a business, they need to come up with an idea that's going to be, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in the first half of today's session. Another great reason to do this, to come up with a business idea, is that it's a great way to develop skills amongst young people. Your students are going to have to think outside the box, they're going to have to think big, and they're going to develop their creativity in this process. They're also going to develop their critical thinking, because they're going to come up with multiple ideas, and then they're going to have to analyze them and critically pick which one is best for them. And finally, they're going to have to aim high and develop their aspirations. And the third reason is that it's fun. It's a bit different to the normal academic subjects, and it's a way for your school to offer your students something that's different, practical, and interactive. And then the final reason is that you could win a prize. We have 4 prizes available worth £150 each in step 1 business idea alone. And these prizes will be available later in the year for those who submit the best business ideas. And in case you're wondering, the photo on the right-hand side of my screen is of a School Enterprise Challenge participant in Nicaragua. As you can see, she's counting the money that her business team made in a day. And the reason I've put this here is to show you that this could be your student at your school. They could be making money for themselves, but before they can do this, they need to come up with a business idea. And that's what the first section of this webinar is all about. So I've spoken a bit about why you should do it. Now I'm going to explain how you can do it with your students. The first thing that you need to do is log into the School Enterprise Challenge online account and familiarize yourself with lessons 1, 2, 3 and 4, because those are the lessons which relate to step one, coming up with a business idea. And within these lessons, there are 5 activities. So once you are familiar with these activities, you need to support your students to do them. You need to give them the time, the space, and the worksheets that they need to do these 5 activities. The first activity, which is in lesson 1, is the dreams poster. And you can see the students on the right-hand side of the screen, they've just done their dreams poster and they're proudly posing with it in the picture. And this is a fun and easy way to start the School Enterprise Challenge. So you need to go to lesson 1 and download the dreams poster. It's a super quick activity that can be done in half an hour or so. So I really encourage you to do this with your students if you haven't done so already. And students love this activity because it gets them excited about the future and thinking about the opportunities that lie ahead of them. I'm just going to pause for a second because I see that we have more people joining us and they're introducing themselves in the chat. So we have people from South Africa, welcome, Nadia from Cameroon, from India, more people from South Africa, India. So welcome everyone, someone else from Indonesia, Michael from Uganda, welcome. I'll resume with the presentation now. So I've just talked to you about the dreams poster. Now let's look at the next activity, which is in lesson 2. And this is called the resource assessment. And your students will go around their school, grounds and community to assess the resources available, because we're going to encourage you to set up a business that's using the resources available to you and around your school and your community. So if you're a teacher who knows nothing about entrepreneurship and what a resource assessment even is, you don't need to worry, because lesson 2 includes guidance for the teacher. We will teach you what a resource assessment is before you have to teach it with your students. So you'll learn alongside your students. Another activity in lesson 2 is all about brainstorming. Based on the resource assessment, your students will come up with at least 5, but maybe more business ideas. At this point, there's no such thing as a bad idea, and your students will practice their creativity by coming up with various ideas. They can aim high, and this activity encourages them to throw around as many ideas as they like. Take into account all the students' business ideas, as they may want to set up different types of businesses. And then we'll come on to lesson 3, and this is all about the feasibility study. So this helps you to look at all of the ideas generated during brainstorming and determine if they are good ideas, if they can be executed now, if they can be done cheaply, if they can be implemented at your school, and if they will be profitable. And don't worry, there's a template to help you with this process, so you don't need to know what a feasibility study is. And the template provides all of the necessary questions for your students to answer. By the end of this lesson, your students will know which business idea they want to take forward into step 2. But before they move on to step 2, there's one final lesson, and that is lesson 4. In this lesson, your students will start considering the financial aspects of their chosen business idea. They will think about the money they need to set up the business and how to acquire that money. So don't worry if there's not a lot of money at your school or in your community. Lesson 4 will guide you on how to raise your startup capital effectively. There are examples from all over the world where schools had $0 to start but managed to set up a business using the tips provided. So these are the 5 activities you need to do with your students in lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4 inside the online platform. The answers you give to these questions are automatically collated and put into your business idea document. You just answer the questions inside each of the lessons, and then the platform will take your answers and put them together in a document for you. So you don't need to worry about filling in the answers and the document as well, because you're doing these 2 things at the same time. And once you finish lesson 4, you just need to review your business idea document and click submit. And when you click submit, it will automatically come to us and we'll have access to it. Then you're ready to move on to step 2. So just so you are aware, lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4 usually take between 4 and 6 hours. So it is totally doable to do in a day. So if you dedicate a day to completing step 1 of the program, which is business idea, You can definitely do this with your students tomorrow, for example. Now, let's take a look at some examples of business ideas from all over the world. It's hard to come up with some different ideas, and your students might struggle with this step in particular. So let's take a look at different examples from all over the world to inspire you. So the first one is from students in Nigeria who did lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they realized that they wanted to set up a tuck shop. So a small shop that sells snacks and everyday items. It's a super simple and effective idea, and they set up the shop on their school grounds and made a lot of money through this by selling it to other students. And then we have some students in India who did lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they realized that there was a lot of waste fabric in their community. So they asked people to give them the fabric they don't use anymore, and they turned it into turned old fabric into bags. So they literally needed no startup capital. They used waste materials that were going to be discarded. They just made something out of waste and made these beautiful bags, which they sold and made a lot of profit from. Then these girls here in Nicaragua realized when they did their resource assessment and their feasibility study that there was nowhere easy to buy things like pens, pencils, scissors, and other pieces of stationery that people need in their school. So they decided to set up their own stationery store. They bought these items in bulk from a wholesaler and then sold them on at a profit. So you don't have to create these products yourself. You can buy products online or from a wholesaler, and then you can sell them on at a profit. And that is totally fine. That is a viable business idea. And then finally, I really like this business from Pakistan, which is all about growing plants and flowers. And then once they're grown, they sell them in these beautiful pots, which they make by hand out of clay and decorate themselves. Their products are very popular as gifts for special occasions and festivals and so on. And this was a very successful business idea as they buy the seeds very cheaply and then they can sell the products at a profit. So I hope this gives you an idea of the kinds of businesses that schools from all over the world have come up with. And as you can see, they are all very different and work for them based on their context of the country and the community and even the school. So I encourage you to do lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4 with your students and see what happens. What will they come up with? Okay, so I see we have some more people joining us, more people from India, welcome, and from Cameroon. There's some questions coming in the chat, but I will take those questions at the end in the Q&A section. So yeah, thank you. Keep writing your questions in the chat and I'll get back to them at the end of the presentation. So we've talked about business idea, and now it's time to move on to business plan, which is the step that we're in at the moment in the School Enterprise Challenge. So it might be more relevant for you, but don't worry if it's not, and you are here for the business idea section, that's absolutely fine. So this is the second section of today's presentation, which is all about step 2. So let's get straight into it. Just like I said with the business idea, I want to talk a little bit about the why you should do it. So first of all, it's the second step in the School Enterprise Challenge. Step 2 focuses on lessons 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and your students will take their business idea and create a concrete plan of how to turn that idea into a reality. This is a really exciting part of the program because young people learn about lots of different entrepreneurial concepts. The second reason why you should involve your students is that they develop it's another way to develop essential skills for them. And it's during this step that your students will cultivate skills such as analysis, problem solving, and confidence. It's like the next level up from business idea, and they can further develop their skills in this step. And these are incredibly important skills, not only for school, but also life and their future careers and everyday life, really. So this part of the program offers valuable skills that will benefit your students in all aspects of life. And then students have fun in this step. In step 1, they come up with their business ideas, and now in step 2, they get to shape and develop those ideas further. So many of the activities in this step involve going out of the classroom, talking to different people, analysing data, facing challenges, and finding solutions. And it's a really engaging and enjoyable part of the programme, and teachers often report that their students have a great time with it. And as always, there are prizes available for this step of the programme too. So you could win up to £1,000 for the best business plan submission. Additionally, there are prizes for bronze, silver, and gold, which are £600, £700, and £800 respectively, making it a total of 4 prizes available for this section. And these prizes add an extra incentive for students and teachers to put their best efforts into creating a compelling business plan. Now, let's discuss how you can support your students in coming up with a great business plan. So, first of all, as the teacher, you need to log into your online account. Just like I said in step 1, you should familiarise yourself with the lessons in this step, which are lessons 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there are 5 lessons in this step. There were 4 in the previous step, now there's 5. So let's take a look at the activities in each lesson. So lesson 5, you and your students will conduct market research, competitor analysis, and a SWOT analysis. In lesson 6, you'll work on operational planning and discuss health and safety. Lesson 7 will cover marketing and sales planning. Lesson 8, which might be the most challenging lesson of the programme, focuses on financial planning. And lesson 9, you'll talk about how the future profits will be spent, ensuring that there are no disagreements later down in the line. And remember, in lesson 10, your students will be ready to launch their business. So lesson 9, it's essential to have a conversation about how the profits will be allocated. If any of these terms and concepts are unfamiliar to you, don't worry, because I'm about to explain each activity and each lesson in detail. So let's go through lesson 5, which is the first lesson in step 2. This is where your students will conduct market research to establish their target market. They'll also perform a competitor analysis, identifying the strengths and weaknesses of similar businesses in the area and how to outperform them. In addition, they'll do a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And don't worry if you're unfamiliar with a SWOT analysis, because I've included a screenshot here from the mini guide for lesson 5. So you already have all this resource available to you, which provides a detailed explanation and instructions on how you can do it with your students. So it's really important that you go through the mini guide for this lesson and familiarise yourself with the concepts and the different activities. So in lesson 5, for example, this is a SWOT analysis. Now, moving on to lesson 6, your students will engage in operational planning. They'll consider their team structure and the responsibilities of each team member. And I've included a screenshot from a team in India, which is called the Crazy Library Team, and they sell books. And you can see here that they have a fantastic organogram, which shows you the name of the department at the top and everyone who is in that department underneath. So everyone's very clear about which team they're in and what their roles are. This lesson also covers risk assessment, where students identify potential risks in their business and create plans to mitigate them. It's a valuable life lesson as it teaches them about anticipating and managing risks. So for example, if your students are planning a bakery business and they need to think about what the risks are. So someone could burn themselves on an oven, or they could cut their finger with a knife. So you would need to think about all these risks, and then you would have to come up with a plan to either reduce these risks as much as possible, or in some cases you can eliminate the risk completely. So that's lesson 6, and you can see that I've included a screenshot of the risk assessment, which you'll be carrying out with your students. And now I'm moving on to lesson 7, where your students will focus on sales planning to prepare for the big day or the big days of making sales. They'll determine what they're selling, at what price, where to sell it, and how to advertise it. So this lesson also introduces marketing and the 4 Ps. So product, price, place, and promotion. And it's an exciting topic for students because they get to design flyers, posters, and social media accounts to promote their businesses. So they love being creative and creating materials for their online accounts. And I've included this lovely photo of a school in India. They're all standing in front of their beautiful stall. And, this didn't just happen by chance. They had to plan this. And that's what you do in lesson 7. You're really planning how the day-to-day of the business is going to be. And then you can see on the right, there's the 4 P's of marketing and different social media channels that you might use to promote your product. And then moving on to lesson 8, which is where your students will deal with financial planning. And like I said, this is often considered the most challenging of the lessons. However, it is crucial for your students to learn about finances. And this lesson covers everything from startup budgeting, income estimation, cost analysis, and profit projection. So don't worry if you're not confident with finances or these terms. We have lots of templates which you can download, like this one on the screen, which is from the mini guide, which guides you through the process. And it's not a problem if you can't print off our templates. You can recreate them on a blank piece of paper and take a photo and upload it to the platform. So we we understand that not every school has access to a printer, and that's not a problem. You can write it on a piece of paper, take a photo of it, and just upload it in the space that you're given. And finally, we have lesson 9, which is where your students will discuss how they will spend their profits in the future. So before launching and making money, they'll decide how the profit will be allocated. The money earned is 100% yours. We don't take any of the money. So it's yours to keep, and it's completely up to your students how they decide to spend it. But this lesson provides a guide with various suggestions, such as investing in the school, supporting students in need, donating to charities, or reinvesting in the business growth. We often find that teams decide to reinvest it in the business so that they can participate in the program again next year, but come back even better and stronger than before. So they might decide to diversify their product range, add new products, or expand, include more students. So that's a really good option for your students to consider. And once you've completed all these 5 lessons with your students, they will need to bring their answers to the online account. You'll need to complete the sections called Exercises for Students inside lessons 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And once you've finished these 5 lessons, the online platform will automatically generate your business plan, just like it does with Business Idea, and it will do the same in step 3, which is the annual report. So you'll need to review it with your students and then submit it as the final step of the process. And that's it, done and dusted with step 2 business plan. So let's go back to step 1, which is business idea. And I'm going to share some top tips for success. So how to come up with a great business idea. So if you are new to the program, the first and foremost, it is really important to come with an open mind. You should avoid having preconceived business ideas in mind. Instead, let your students go through lessons 1 to 4 in order and really experience the program and go through the process. By the end of lesson 4, they will have a great business idea. So let them go through the process by themselves. And for returning participants, you can continue with your previous idea, but remember to grow it or diversify it. So like I just said, you can introduce new products, you can include new students. So try and make it different this year. And you should also follow lessons 1 to 4 as well, as they guide you on how to do this. So it doesn't matter if you're a new school, a new team, or if you're returning, you should still go through lessons 1 to 4 as they will help you out. So my next tip is that the business idea should genuinely come from the students and not from the teacher. You should encourage them to do the resource assessments and brainstorm ideas themselves. This is a program for them, and we really want them to benefit from the skills that they develop in the process. So avoid feeding them ideas and try and ignite that entrepreneurial spirit within your students. Like I said, like students will be more passionate about an idea that they come up with themselves, and they'll be willing to contribute more to the program. So, it's really helpful for them to come up with the ideas by themselves. And then it's really important to ensure that the business idea is realistic and feasible within the time frame of the program. It should have the potential to make profit, and you should emphasize the importance of considering people and the planet, making sure that the business doesn't harm the community or the environment. So if you ever have any doubt on whether a business idea is eligible, feasible, or if you just want some advice, you can always get in touch with us via email or WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to give you the green light or tell you an area where we think you could improve your business idea. So if you're ever unsure, you can always get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to share our guidance and advice on specific cases. And you should also allow your students to debate ideas, discuss pros and cons, and ultimately agree on the best one to plan and run. So as their teacher, you act as the facilitator. You want them to have that space to be able to discuss different ideas. But at the end of the day, they need to come to the conclusion by themselves, and you are there to support them. And when it comes to business plan, my first top tip is to follow the process I described earlier. So like I said, with business idea, you should go online, familiarize yourself with the lessons, do them in order with your students, starting from lesson 5 and progressing through to lesson 9. If you're new to the program, you should take your time to understand entrepreneurial concepts like competitor analysis, market research, and SWOT analysis. As a teacher, you can do a quick Google search or look at our mini guides to help you understand the concepts more fully. There's no point in you trying to teach a lesson to your students if you don't fully understand the concepts yourself. So we encourage you to familiarize yourselves with the lessons, the guides, and the resources that we provide, so that you can be, a good teacher and you can really be able to pass on the knowledge to your students. However, I would say don't rush through these steps, because they are vital in creating a robust and successful business plan based on factual information, not assumptions. So if you are ever unsure in anything, you can, like I said, do a Google search, look at our guides, or you can always send us a message or an email. Just say, hi, Katie, could you clarify what a SWOT analysis is? Do you have any examples from past participants? And I'll be happy to help. And even if you are a returning participant, I would say don't skip this section. You should update and refresh your research, because markets and customer behavior change over time. So for example, if you did analysis on your target market in 2022, you should carry on with the program and do this again in 2023, because the world of business is changing all of the time, and you can't rely on past data to make present decisions. So yeah, I encourage you to make sure to update your research, because trends are always changing, and that ensures that your business plan stays relevant and competitive. And if you've participated in the past, our judges will have seen your answers before. So I strongly encourage you to go through the process again, and that will also maximize your chances of winning a prize. And then we know that financial planning can be challenging for many, so my tip is to think carefully and be realistic. You should encourage your students to think item by item, going into detail about costs and income, and don't just generalize. Specify each item with its cost to increase accuracy. And then for the marketing aspect, you should encourage your students to be creative and think outside the box. Choosing the best marketing channels based on your target market's preferences. So, for example, you should avoid blindly using popular platforms like social media if it's not the right fit for your customers. If you have a product that's designed maybe for the older generation, then I would suggest staying away from TikTok and Instagram and things like that, because your target audience probably won't be using those channels. And then finally, I think I've touched this point many times, but Remember that the business idea and business plan should come from the students themselves. As teachers, you play a facilitator role, guiding and supporting them, but the students must lead the decision-making and planning process. This is so that they can gain as many skills, and it prepares them for the future where they won't have as much support from you as a teacher. And you should let them take charge, set them little activities in the classroom that they can, talk to each other, work in groups, and don't overpower them and come up with your own ideas. You should really let them take the charge. So by following these tips, I think that you significantly increase your chances of creating a compelling business idea and therefore business plan and winning real monetary prizes. And these tips are derived from prize-winning submissions. So I really suggest you take advantage of this advice to excel in the program. And don't worry if you missed any of the tips that I shared today, because this session is being recorded. So I will share the recording with you afterwards. But you are here right now to experience this firsthand, and yeah, just learn about all the top tips for success that we from the School Enterprise Challenge organising team recommend. So that brings us to the end of the presentation section of this webinar. And now it's your chance to ask me any questions you have about the School Enterprise Challenge in general, whether you're new or a returning teacher, or specific questions about step 1 and step 2, and even step 3 if you're on that. But yeah, let's try and focus on step 1 and 2 questions. So I'm here to help clear up any doubts. We've got 25 minutes till the end of the session, so I've got a good amount of time to take questions. So please, first of all, write your questions in the chat, and don't be shy, happy to help answer any questions. Let me just, so yeah, please write any questions you have in the chat. Okay. Okay, I see that questions are coming in. Okay, I have a question from Stefana, who has said, how long does the whole process take? Okay, so like I said, step 1 takes, you can do step 1 in a morning, for example. Step 1 only takes 4 to 6 hours. If you really wanted, you could bash through the lessons and do that in a day, or you could spread it out throughout a week, but it really doesn't take very long. Even if you did like half an hour a day, it could take 2 weeks. And then for step 2, we would recommend maybe a month. However, the next deadline, which is coming up, is on the 23rd of August, and it's totally possible for you to do step 2 before the 23rd of August. So you have 20 days, maybe half an hour a day or an hour every other day. That is totally possible. So then step 3 is kind of like the biggest step in the program, and that is all about implementation and launching the business. So we do recommend that this step is slightly longer, 2 to 3 months, to give your students a taste of what running and launching your business is actually like. So that is the longest step. They go up in time, but it's absolutely possible to do step 1 and step 2 before the 23rd of August deadline. And yeah, I hope this presentation has kind of given you more ideas on how to do that and some top tips as well. I'm just looking in the chat for more for more questions. Have some water. Okay, Raju has said, my school hasn't registered. Can we register now? Yes, absolutely. Registration is open all year round, so it's not too late to register for the program. Like I said, if you start the program this week, then it's absolutely possible to do step 1 and step 2 before the 23rd of August deadline. And it's going to be a challenge, but I feel like with the resources that we provide, you absolutely can do it. It's very doable. So I strongly encourage you to register today for free on the School Enterprise Challenge website. And actually, I can share the registration link with you now. I'll post it in the chat. bear with me, register. Okay, so just posting the registration link in the chat. So you can go on to register after this session. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. It's really quick. And then you'll have access to all of the amazing resources that we have available. Okay, I see that there are lots of questions coming through. Please bear with me whilst I just find the questions. Okay. Stefana also has another question. Is it possible for one school to have more than one group? If yes, how many max group? That is a great question. And I did an onboarding session last week and I said the same thing. So your school can have as many different teams as it likes. So for example, if you have a group of students that want to have a jewelry making business, another group that wants to go into, I don't know, upcycling old materials, then those are two very distinct business ideas. And we recommend having different teams for each business idea. So the answer is you can have as many different teams as possible. And we really suggest that you do have different teams so that you can involve more students in your in the program as possible. We say that usually it's best to have at least 15 students, but you can have as many as 45 or more. So yeah, we strongly encourage to have as many different groups, and there is no kind of maximum number there should be in a group, but it might be easier to manage for you as a teacher to have around 45 or less. And then when the number spills over 45, you can just set up another group. Hi, Rose and Richard from Ghana. Just looking at the comments. Okay, so someone has asked, can you show that organogram again once? Can you show that organogram again by zooming in a little bit? I can show you the slide again. I'm not sure if I can zoom into the... Okay, let's go to here. And I have a feeling I know why you're asking to see it, because you can see that now. So maybe we can zoom in. Okay, perfect. And like I said, I'll share this recording after the session. So if you missed it in the first round, you can have a look at it. And I said I have a feeling why you're asking for this, because we've just launched the second mini competition of the year, and this is all about creating a visual organogram, which is what this photo is of, in a video. So we really want to see your team members, what their roles are, how they rotate from role to role, and how the everyday running of the business is going to be, how your planning is going, thinking about what student is going to be doing what action, etc. So we've asked you to create a 2-minute video of your students introducing themselves, talking about their roles. So it's like a visual organogram. So yeah, you can have a look at that one on the screen now, and I'll share the recording, like I said, afterwards, so you can have a proper look at it. So we have more questions coming in. Do students necessarily need to run their business idea practically, or it can be submitted at planning stage itself? Okay, so students don't start implementing their business idea until step 3. So step 2 is all about planning the business. And we do strongly encourage your students to actually follow through and launch the business in step 3. So they don't need to start running the business in step 1 or 2. That's absolutely fine. This is all about preparing, getting ready. But yes, step 3, we encourage them to launch the business. And like I said, this takes 2 to 3 months because we really want them to experience what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Hi, Jude. Jude said, sorry for joining late. Heavy pool of rain caused network failure. Well, it's nice to have you with us now, Jude. Thank you for joining. Okay, Adia, can you tell an example for a service providing business? Yeah, that's a really great question. We have so many different business ideas, and most of them are products, but we also do have services. So for example, off the top of my head, I can think of a business where they provided decorating services. So they would hire the like props for, say, weddings, festivals, and then they would, offer a service to people to set up their space to make it nice with the decorations that they've rented. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be a product, it can be a service as well. I think we've had other services such as giving lessons, like students being a teacher themselves, providing like reading and writing classes for other students. So that's another example of a service, and that's absolutely fine. Okay. Okay, I think David has said, what's the maximum number of teams per school? There is absolutely no maximum. We want to encourage as many students to take part as possible. And sorry, I just realized I'm sharing my screen. This is a really important point. We want to encourage as many students at your school to take part. So if there are 500 students, you could have 50 different teams, and that is absolutely fine. It can be a whole school affair. Every student from every grade could take part. So we do really want to encourage you to, onboard as many different teams and students as possible to maximize our impact. So we have Nadine, who says, what age purpose have a student? So I think Nadine would like to know what age students can participate. So the programme is open to all schools, including pre-primary, primary, secondary, and colleges and vocational centres as well. The only group of people that can't take part are university students. So you can have students at pre-primary school, I don't know, 3 years old participating, or they could be in primary school, they could be 6, 7, 8 years old, and then you can have high school students, so they could be anywhere from 12 to 18 years old. So it doesn't really matter the age. We have a guide for young learners, which I can share as well in the follow-up of this session, which kind of gives teachers top tips on how they can run the program with super young children. We know that it's a bit of a struggle, so if that's relevant to you, I can share this. I can share that guide with you afterwards. Lots of people saying thank you. I hope that you can all hear me okay. Someone else has said thank you for this golden opportunity. It will not only help us financially, but also tickle learners' innovative skills, competence, and critical thinking. Thank you so much for that comment. Right, do we have any other questions? Please feel free to write them in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat right now. Evan has said, can you send the onboarding video out to us again? Some of the teachers just joined the program. Yes, of course, I can send the onboarding video recording. Stefana, will we have a copy of this meeting? Yes, I'm recording this meeting and I'll share it in an email, a newsletter afterwards, probably tomorrow. So yeah, absolutely. Do we have any more questions about step 1 or step 2 of the webinar, of the program? I'm just looking. Any more questions? Yes, I will send the presentation to you via email. I can share the we have an organizational email and I'm in charge of that, so I can share that with you now in the chat. And so if you have any questions or you'd like us to send this presentation to a specific email address, then you can get in touch with us and I'll do that. So let me just find the email. Contact us. Okay, so I've just shared our email. So if you have any questions or you'd like to follow up, you need any follow-up from this webinar. Someone has said, please share the WhatsApp group for Cameroon schools. Okay, let me just find that now. So yeah, in case you didn't know, we have WhatsApp groups for different countries, and that's just School Enterprise Challenge teachers getting together, sharing tips. And if you're new to the program, you could learn from teachers who have been participating in the program for years. So it's really exciting and a great opportunity. We have a global group, but also ones where you can talk to teachers from your country, and you could even organize meetups, or you can share specific top tips for your country. So the Cameroon, we have a group for Cameroon, and I'm just going to share the link with you. Okay, here is the link to join the group for Cameroon. And if you'd like to send us an email privately, we can share the link with you for your country. But any more questions, anyone? Otherwise, we can end this webinar a couple minutes early. Okay, David has a really good question. For the groups that have joined late, does the deadline for submission date remain the same? So these submission dates are so many questions now. They are suggested. So you don't have to follow them exactly, and we are flexible if you need an extension. So the first submission date was in May, the 23rd of May. The next one is the 23rd of August. The final submission date of the year is the 23rd of November. And anything submitted before this deadline will be considered for prizes. So it's really important for you to make sure to submit before this deadline. That is the final cutoff point for the year. However, if you don't think you'll be able to manage the 23rd of August deadline, that's okay. You can send your documents a couple days after. Please just get in touch with us before, and we can organize another submission date for your school specifically. So it's really important to have that communication with us. We're always on hand to answer your emails, and we would like to discuss the flexibility with you. So yeah, if you joined late, that's absolutely fine. I encourage you to work towards the 23rd of August deadline, but if you don't think that's possible, then we can extend it by a couple of days or a week, however long you need. Someone had Stefana, do you have the group chat as well for Indonesia? Actually, we don't have a group chat for Indonesia. We've really been hoping to recruit more Indonesian schools and teachers. But at the moment, currently, we do not have a group chat, but this would definitely be something we could set up if there are enough Indonesian teachers. We've got groups with just a few teachers in, so this is definitely possible. And thank you for the suggestion. I'll make sure to pass this message on. And then we've got another question. Please, where is the form to fill in? So that's Jude. The link that I shared previously is how you register for the program, if that's what you're referring to. And I'll just send you the link now in case you missed it. So this is the link where you can register. Okay, we've got another question. Can we have an agency for promotion of School Enterprise Challenge? So are you asking whether you can have some materials to promote the School Enterprise Challenge in your country? Because if so, yes, absolutely. We have a toolkit of promotional flyers and information pack where you can take those materials, share them on your social media channels to help us spread the word and spread the program. Richard would like the group chat link for Ghana. Yes, of course. Let me just find that. I see that we have someone joining our Cameroon group chat. It's lovely. I'm glad to see that everyone is keen to have their country's group chat. Okay, so I've just posted Ghana's. Jude says, I am in Liberia and I need more understanding of the program. Well, Jude, I can send you the onboarding webinar, which I carried out last week. And that is really, I talked through how to get started. So this is more about step 1 and step 2 of the program, but I talked to you about how to get started. So that could be really, key for you. And then someone would like the India group chat. Let me do that right now. Okay, this is for the India group. David said, is there a stage where some groups are knocked off to come up with the best, or what's the exact selection criteria? So that's a really good question. For step 1 business idea, that is like an internal marking criteria. Then step 2 and step 3, which is where you win prizes of higher amounts, and also that contributes to your achievement, your award level. So we have bronze, silver, and gold, and that's where it really matters. So step 1 is kind of like to ease you in. There are 4 prizes worth £150, but then step 2 and 3 is where it really gets exciting, and there are higher prizes, and you can get your award level. So this goes to external judges. So these are professional markers that we send the documents to, and we do have a whole page on our website which is dedicated to the achievement criteria. So this tells you everything that we are looking for. It has an explanation of how award levels work and the achievement criteria of business plan and annual report. So this tells you exactly what kind of answers we're looking for and how to maximize your chances of winning a prize. So I'm going to post that now. So that's a page on our website. I encourage you to check it out. This will maximize your chances of winning a prize and also your award level certificate. So if you click on that page, we have 3 different links. I can share my screen with you now. Hang on. Okay, I hope you can see that. So this is the page on the School Enterprise Challenge website. It's under resources. We have achievement criteria, and then here it says you can view an explanation of how the award levels work along with top tips for success here. So I click on that, and that explains what the levels are all about. So we have bronze, silver, gold, and how it is assessed, how this is different to previous years, and then some top tips for coming up with a business idea, and then top tips for step 2, which is what we're talking about today, and then step 3, which is what you'll be doing after that step. And then if we go back here, so if you want to see a detailed explanation of how to what we are looking for in step 2, you can click here. And this is a document solely about business plan. It's not about business idea, because like I said, it's only the business plan which is goes towards your bronze, silver, or gold. And this is all about how it's marked and how winners are selected. So I strongly encourage you to check out that link that I've sent in the chat. So for example, we've already talked about lesson 5 market research today. And here is a description of what we are looking for. So really, you should be aiming for gold, or, you can work your way up. But if you want to aim high with your students, then you can go for gold. And you can read the description of what we are looking for. And here is some examples for the competitor analysis. So as you can see, it's a really comprehensive document. This is a question that the document has. So this is our SWOT analysis, and this is what we are looking for. So students have completed each section, excellent understanding, 5+ specific strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So already that tells you that you need to have 5 different examples under each section. So you can write that down, and then when it comes to doing this exercise with your students, you'll know, we have to provide 5 different examples, because that will ensure that we get a gold level award level. We're awarded the gold level. So we have this document for each of the lessons: lesson 6, 7 marketing, 8, and 9. So it's all of the lessons that I've talked you through today. So yeah, check out this document. I can share it in the follow-up for this webinar as well. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of the presentation. I see that is there a hand raised? Does anyone have any questions? I thought I saw a hand raised, maybe not. So if there are, do we have a hand raise? If there are no other questions for today, then we can end this session here. Like I said, you can reach out to us via email and we'll be happy to answer your individual questions. But it was lovely to talk to you in the chat today and answer your questions and give you this webinar. I can see there's some more questions coming through, but as we're coming to the end of the day, and I know you're busy people, teachers, I'll make sure to respond to your questions after this webinar. And you can always send us an email, like I said, or a WhatsApp message, which you can find our number on our website. So thank you everyone for joining me today. It's been great to see you, some of you, and talk to you in the chat and answering your questions. And I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you again soon. So thank you and bye.